In this channel, we seek to interrogate the issues bothering us in the society because it has a way of affecting our outcomes. Hello and welcome. This is Jazini TV and the program is Bridges. Unfortunately, since we started the topic of TB.Joshua, there has been a lot of backlash, anger, and the likes, such that you will discover that the bitterness in the hearts of people is much more dangerous than the problems they want to solve. And today, I continue my analysis of the TB.Joshua saga from the angle of someone who has been exposed to religion and varying opinions in religion. I'm not trying to tell you to accept everything I say. Perhaps you can pick one or two things. Thank you for listening. It's going to be a long ride. It might not be palatable, but we will do what we need to do. Thank you so much. I want to thank my new subscribers. God bless you. In this continuation of looking at the BBC documentary, we want to look at the information supplied. Just take it as a perspective and not all there is. When people talk about topics, when people say something, try to understand their topic, what they are talking about. Don't take it out of context and don't be mad at them. Understand what is being said from where they are coming from. It will help you to understand conversations. TB.Joshua saga is a big conversation in our society. Everybody seems to be towing a similar path. But sometimes in the midst of that frenzy, there has to be someone who is saying otherwise. The more we learn to accept varying opinions, the better for a sane society. It helps us put each other in check. Now, episode 2 starts off with telling us, giving us an idea of how he did his miracles or how he conducted his deliverance sessions. They say he's going to create an impression of you. But that's what people who see vision do. Of course, you are at their mercy at that time. You tell them, I'm here. These are the things I see in my life. These are the problems I have. And then it's either they pray or do one thing, and then the next thing they tell you that they can see this, they can see that. So they will tell you what they see before they start. And then they say, he creates an opinion of you. In that place where I say, you are a prostitute, you are a witch doctor, you are this. It's not peculiar to TB.Joshua. Most people that go to places where they need help, what they will first do for you is to diagnose what your problem is before they start tackling it. And these people who say they are spiritualists, they are deliverance ministers, they will first mention the situation before they pray for you. And then somebody says, TB.Joshua told me personally, take note of that, personally, making you know that there is no second person, no other witness can corroborate that except just take what I'm telling you. He told me personally that every 2,000 years, God sends a prophet, a Messiah, and he is the Messiah of our time. That will stand to still be substantiated. Then he is watching a big tele-evangelist. In the religious setting, it's called mentorship. You look at those who you want to emulate, which all of them also came for, to look at who they want to emulate, who you admire, who you feel is in tune with your aspirations. Is there anything wrong with that? So they call it mentorship. So, and then if somebody is a beginner and then he begins to learn the craft and learn how it is done, is there anything wrong in that? Somebody says he's so powerful than Satan himself. Is there any other second Satan? Any other person that is powerful than Satan is God. That's that person's opinion. Another person says he is next to God. He's deputy Jesus. Somebody says he's deputy Jesus. Somebody says he's next to God. These are personal opinions that are also taken out of context. If we have started having other hierarchy of Satan and God, maybe they are just bringing it to our notice and we'll start looking into it. The Emmanuel TV phenomenon. Like every other tele-evangelist, they have a TV station, people will tune in. Now, also, take time to look at this portion where it says up to 50,000 people will tune in. People will not go to church. They will rather stay at home and watch Emmanuel TV. It's pointing to something. Should we stop tele-evangelism? Because that's the present. That's our new reality. During COVID-19, a lot of churches were shut down. It was home services that people attended. There is now a big attack on tele-evangelism. Maybe it is a bigger way to reach the world. It's not peculiar to TB.Joshua. And it is going to be under attack because there is this feeling that the highest thing Africa is exporting to the world is religion. And religion is something the West too would like to fight. We don't allow him to bend down. People consider the 5-star brothers as his personal slaves. Not that they themselves consider themselves as his personal slave. Sorry. They don't allow him to bend down. That is the level that most people place their spiritual leaders. It's a matter of choice to worship somebody. TB.Joshua is not going to tell you to come and bow down to me if you don't oblige. So Bisola says we are in that system where everybody tries to outdo each other. I think they put themselves in that kind of situation where there is competition, everybody is trying to outdo the other. They created the tension, the atmosphere that operated there. That is the level people go to worship their spiritual leader. That's why I say get a mind of your own. When you go to places and you see things that to you are not acceptable, why would you stay? But already I told you in episode 1 that they already gave the impression that they are under a special force that is keeping them down. But if you ask me, I don't think so. There is something the Bible talked about. It says that we are always victims of our own lust. What we hold there. What we hold there. If you go to a place and they give you rice, and you feel that, oh, they gave me sweets, they gave me things today, I'm going to go there tomorrow. You are going to be caught in the system. You are going to stay there because there's a benefit you're getting. It has to come to a time when we have our own mind to say, no matter what I get, I do not care. If I see strange things and they are not okay with me, I move. But if you ask me, this servant leader relationship is something they created, not like it's a written style that this is how it has to be. It's people that idolize their men of God. It's people that idolize their denominations. It's people that feel that we have to do it like this. And if the man allowed you come into his bedroom, is his choice, and it's a privilege to you that you are opportuned to have access to a man of God in that hierarchy, or to a deputy Jesus in quotes, or to somebody that is powerful than the devil. Have you not seen how privileged you are? He rubs honey on his private part. If he wants, let him rub amoy, rub anything. It's his business, his personal business. Anybody can use anything as ointment. If you haven't seen it turn into anything that you can lay hold and say that's honey he rubbed that day, turned into a snake, it will still remain in the realm of speculation. So what you cannot substantiate, don't carry it on. We have these sentiments. We have these sentiments that make us feel like if somebody looks in a particular way, he belongs to something. If somebody enters the house, closing the door in a particular way, he's into something. If somebody... Oh my God. I feel that people should grow to that point that there's nothing you see that moves you. Grow to that point when you feel you feel that anything anybody is doing is his business with his God. I am not defending TB.Joshua. It's none of my business, because my consolation is that all of us will stand before God to give account of our own lives. When I started this series, I was talking about having a will of your own and knowing that you're one person who is on a journey. And you find reasons to keep moving without letting anything deter you. He lives alone in any floor of the church. That man, from the inception of his church, has always lived in the church. If he grew and they had buildings, better buildings, where he now stays in the penthouse, most preachers stay in the penthouses. If they have another secret life there, it's between them and their God. Strange things happen behind closed doors. If you are not in that closed door, how do you know what is happening inside there? These are all personal feelings that are not substantiated. I'm not defending him. The point I'm making is, even if you have your suspicions and you cannot substantiate them, drop it. Pray that God will... And I once said that let us not be interested in finding who is fake and who is not fake. That is God's business. That is God's business. He sees in the secret and he sees in the open. If he can give somebody a knock, is he not the one that dealt with Nebuchadnezzar? And he turned to an animal? Is he not the one that touched somebody in the New Testament and he became maggots? When we take the place of God and start fighting for God, I will talk. The same person that says secret things happen behind, strange things happen behind closed doors, was the same person who was saying that one day he had to peep through the door. He had to go under, which is wrong. Which is wrong. Somebody is in his room and you are busy peeping through under. What are you looking for there? If he wants, let him turn on the TV or to the highest volume, and you have suspicion that sexual activity is going on, and it is now you that will put your head and to find out who it is. And even when you could not substantiate who it was, but you said he's not his wife. There are certain things that renowned broadcasting stations like BBC should see and reason. The prayer mountains. When I looked at most of the things that were said about the prayer mountains, I shook my head. We insinuate a lot of things, especially in Africa. The prayer mountain, that there are waters, huts. I said it about episode 1, the prayer mountains. In the terrain, anybody that knows where that church is located will look at the topography of the place. It's a swampy area. Lagos State generally is a coastal state. They are close to the deltas. Delta is where water bodies join. The swamps, the edges of water. So the terrain is like that. And if you look at the vast area surrounding where they showed you, you will see that there are swampy areas. Thank God one of them said TB.Joshua dredged. Dredging means to remove sand or build something to be able to build something in waters or allow the water flow. He created islands. The man is simply maximizing the space there by creating islands, because they're not going to be walking in those water and swamps. He converted the place to a prayer mountain. A prayer mountain is places of prayer. It might not be in the wilderness or anywhere. Any place you dedicate as an altar to pray becomes a prayer mountain. So in that terrain, he makes it hot because because water is in that area, we now give a different coloration to it. And probably if the land was also red sand, it will take another meaning. If it was, human beings will give meanings to what they want to give meanings. And then, because that place is waterlogged, there are swamps, there are riverine areas, there will be fishes there. If what the man is saying is true, which we cannot substantiate, that's the problem I have. I'm not having any problem with any of those people. The problem I'm having is that I refuse to carry the information and run with it. I'm just reasoning it. Ordinarily, if they turn out to be what it is, let TB.Joshua face his God. But we don't be in the now where there's a lot of information. Somebody will conjure something and tell you, and you carry it and run. That is why a lot of people have been killed. So, if he actually saw a fish, I wasn't there. You were not there. We cannot say it's true. We're just taking the words of these people as truths. Fishes multiply. Fishes multiply. One fish can lay millions of eggs. The water is their natural habitat. Since there are fishes in those places, is TB.Joshua eating the fish? Or he's giving it to his members? Or what? Or they are concluding that he wants to use it to send to Mami Water or the marine, whatever. If that information is true, let God judge the case. But since we all cannot prove it, why are we running with it? The man said it is secretive. It means he is the herbalist involved, and TB.Joshua never knew. And he had a herbalist in his prayer group. He will give you different assignments. Of course, leaders will give their followers. He's even a coordinator, a prayer coordinator. He will be given different assignments. If he now comes to screw it because he's now disgruntled or whatever, I don't know, I'm not sure, it's left to him. There was a time Christ called his disciples. He said, "Blessed are ye if you are not offended in me." Because one thing that happens with human beings is that when they get offended, except God dwells in their hearts. It's not everybody that can manage anger. It's not everybody that can manage offense. For somebody that has commanded millions of people in the capacity of TB.Joshua, will anybody doubt that there will be issues coming up from those who have worked with him? I have been opportuned to employ people. What happens is that they are your best friend today. The day they are no longer in that your work, everything that happened will take a different shape. And then they will start peddling things against you. Especially when the situation surrounding their living is not what they planned. And because I know how human beings do, I cannot see things and just take it like that. There might be elements of truth in them, but you will still wait until the other person has a defense. The heart of man is desperately wicked, and who can know it? That is the reason I am saying that all these things are one side of a story. That's the point I'm making. I'm not defending TB.Joshua. He's a man that lived his life. I'm living my own life. I'm even afraid, and I'm asking God to help me. Because you don't even know how God sees your work. Even we that are feeling that we are fighting for God. Sexual immorality and repetition made you accept that you had the spirit of lust. Well, it's true for her. Maybe she believed. I don't know. Every woman was being shamed. The created narrative of all of us, every woman was being shamed. The statement I had there is a lady. And there are many women. In fact, if you look at his congregation, 1/3 were women. So he didn't look at all of them and said, "You are all prostitutes." The culture of shaming women. Well, if you come to places of worship, you are in there at that time, everything is about shaming when it comes to deliverance. It's not officialized shaming, but as long as responses are spontaneous, they look at you and they give you your own case and say things that they are all a kind of shaming. It happens in most religious settings. Whether he is right or wrong is a topic for us to now start looking into. Maybe churches will now meet and start saying, "Preacher, when somebody comes and you want to pray for them, please don't mention their name. Don't bring them out. Pray for them secretly in your office and make sure you don't conduct this open deliverance and talking into the situations of people." So you see why we cannot single-handedly lay hands on TB.Joshua and say he's shaming women. If you go to other congregations, these things happen. It depends on what the so-called spiritual seer feels he's seeing. So you see, we have a whole lot of situation in our hands. So if we are saying, let's start interrogating these things and to change them, then we have a bigger thing coming. Then somebody says everything sexual was meant to be seen as evil. She now brought herself into the middle because she said she is gay. And because of that, she was seen as evil. There was even a time she said she had to accept herself the way she is. I'm not going into that topic, But you have to now reason. The same person gave the impression that she will try and be ignored. She's telling you the man don't get interest in her. So why is it others that he has interest in? I need to try harder. Who is deceiving who? Oh my God. At this point, is he still a baby? Is she still a baby? She could differentiate between numbers. He made us believe that his wife was always sent to tempt him. He made us believe. Did he tell you, or you drew that conclusion by yourself? Most people in deliverance ministries, in prayer ministries, who are doing the work of God and are lost in it, most of them feel that there is no time for frivolities. Go and ask their wives what their trauma is. And then if in this case, they are saying the truth, I think they should go and ask his wife, at least she's still there. Did the husband say she's tempting him? I remember I watched a video where somebody said the life TB.Joshua lived, sexual pleasures was not anything to go by. That they believe that you only meet your wife when you want to have children. Now this is the point where all the sexual accusations of rape came in. I cannot substantiate that. And if it happened, it's unfortunate that the man in question is not here to face his crimes. Because these people have a point. They are confessing because they feel something has to be done. And something has to be done. But if the man was alive, what could have been done is that this piece of evidence will be brought against him. If he's not able to defend himself, he will be disciplined according to law, brought to book. He's not here anymore. I feel that the church leadership should not slack, should do what they need to do to look at what is now left to ensure that these things are not happening. Why I cannot dwell much on this is that I wasn't there when all these ones happened. I cannot even say they are truth or not. But there are situations where these things are real. And I feel that that church leadership has more to do. They shouldn't wave all these things away. They should look into it to see that it doesn't happen again. There should be a set of rules to forestall this kind of happenings. I also know that churches have those rules. And then the point where they talked about meeting everybody is running. It's normal with religious organizations. If they call for meetings, you will be there. You will run. You will do what every other person does. Meetings, leaders meeting, discipleship meeting is where churches will sit down and look at what they do, what has been done, reports, successes, problems. That is where it's trashed. Of course, they cannot be doing that in the general church. That is where all the issues happened. I could remember growing up in a religious setting. Then, if you have acted in a particular way that is suspicious, all those issues will be brought out because they would remind you of the standards. And it's done in front of everybody because that is the inner caucus members of the church who should know what is happening. Is there any time board members come for meetings and they don't open all the issues? Someone said it's called shaming. Someone said that in one of the videos that Ajoke was stood up because she had done some things, that the culture of shaming is bullying. That one is a topic for another day. If we now decide that in organizations, in churches, in anywhere, we will not stand people up to point to them what they have done as disciplinary, as way of taking disciplinary actions on them, we can now start talking about them. I say that things happen for us to start looking into issues. The same person told me that he saw TB.Joshua slapping somebody during the deliverance session. Go and listen to my video on the spirituality of TB.Joshua. That man came from some settings where they believe that they can flog a spirit out. Many people know what I'm talking about. Why are we pretending? There are places you go for deliverance, they will use cane and say they are flogging the spirits. I'm not here to say whether they are right. Physically looking is violence and should not be supported. But those people tell you that they are spiritual leaders, and that's how they know to send out evil spirits. That when and it's similar to what happens elsewhere where they manage spirits. Is when you torment the body and bring the spirit to subject to a certain state, it becomes subject. That man came from where he picked some of those things from where he's coming from, where they do certain things to be able to handle spirits. And the person he slapped in that particular video had a violent spirit. So if at that time he feels that that's how God revealed to him to cast out that spirit, is left to him. But for us, physically now, we'll start interrogating that aspect that looks like something that should not be sustained. It's not only TB.Joshua. Other churches, other spiritual leaders should look at it. Do they cast out demons by beating the people? That's a very serious topic. Because, let me not give my opinion in this one. I was going to say that what I know, speak the word. Anyway, somebody will tell me it's my own. What do I know? Well, ordinarily looking, hitting somebody in the name of deliverance is bad for me. But what do I know? Those who are bigger and are handling spirits tells you is a method. And then when you come to the issue of shaming, I don't know, when it comes to inner caucus meetings, matters are addressed and called what they are. Nobody pampers it. But when they come out openly, there are things that happen at the leadership level of the church that they don't come out to tell everybody. But that is why it's not everybody that should be in the leadership strata of any organization. People that cannot handle information, people that cannot handle privileges should not, because there are things they will see, and that's where we're having problems. There are things they will see and they cannot keep it. They'll start running their mouth everywhere and adding more fire. For those who are thinking that there will be a perfect system, it's still a desire. If they flog people in their discipleship meeting, I think the other disciples there, that is why I was also saying that BBC would have done their own homework after these people provided this information. The other people there who will corroborate that fact if it is true. And there are cameras in the church as well that they can consult. Because how would people be flogged in meetings to the extent that they have blood as Agomor painted? You'll be flogged. But the one we saw with Bisola, when the church released the clip, it was a discipleship meeting where she came to beg and was saying she will not do the thing she was doing again. And the man asked them to pray for her. We didn't see her being flogged because she said her skirt was raised up and she was flogged. We didn't see her being flogged. Were there no other disciples who are there to say, yes, Bisola was flogged with her skirt raised up? You'll be flogged till there is blood on your body? Where are the marks? If these things are happening, these are things that should be dug into. It is unacceptable and should be condemned. Very unacceptable. The issue of creating fear everywhere, as in pitching their heads against each other, I don't think it's created by the man. It's the people there that create that kind of atmosphere, because like they confirm, everybody wants to outdo each other. In that setting where holier than thou attitude prevails, is a very toxic environment. Where you are a leader, the next person is looking out for who will fall so that they will say, I'm holier than. It's not only in synagogue that it happens. It happens in most other churches where the other people want to be seen in a better light than others. It boils down to looking inwards whether these things are happening still in other organizations, in other churches. And if it's happening in synagogue, the new leadership of that church should look into all these allegations. TB.Joshua didn't make anybody anybody's enemy. Everything they did, I think, are documented and can be confirmed. If you say, I'm your enemy, or somebody is making me your enemy and you my enemy, it's a matter of choice. He made everybody. I presume this place is a church where everybody should be having a new heart. Obviously, these people never had a new heart. For them to begin to hate each other in the name of pleasing their master, who is not here to even tell us whether he created enemies of his followers. TB.Joshua had double face. The face on Emmanuel TV and the face behind Emmanuel TV. But most of the things he did in front of the camera, Emmanuel TV, are more than what he did behind. Is it that he will give these people these things and go to the back and say, give it back to me? I didn't mean to give it to you. And if he was giving all those things in pretense, it's between him and his God. It's not for us to say whose intentions are, whose gestures of kindness are right or not. Workings of charity are not used to cover who anybody is. Even if the person will let them do charity till next tomorrow, they are who they are. And you cannot have a different heart and you are producing a different result. Like, what fruit you produce is the substance you are made of. The devil will not give you things. So it's whoever is saying that he has a different heart and means another. Let me tell you, to some preachers, true Christianity is to help the needy, as was quoted in the scriptures, that true Christianity is to help the poor and the needy. I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was homeless, you gave me shelter. That is true Christianity, and most preachers are practicing it. If he has the resources to do that, why not? This is somebody who is gathering income from different places, from all the financial involvements they have. What would those monies be used for? It's for charity. And let the intentions of those charity be let not the intentions be misinterpreted. It's still a subject for debate. If they were out of genuineness or out of pretense, they said that he used it to cover who he really was. He still forgot to see. The issue of Ajoke, it is the man and the mother of Ajoke that will prove who is the biological parents of Ajoke. And the statement Ajoke made, she said, as far as I've been raised as TB.Joshua's daughter. That statement means a lot. It means that she understands that this man didn't give birth to me biologically, but he is my father. It also means that is the only place she can call home. So it's for people who are saying it's his biological daughter. The church has released a video showing how she came to the church. Whether he's acted as people are insinuating or not, as some people are saying, God still has all the truth. What is my business trying to dig out the truth when I'm not sure? When God sees in the secret and sees in the open. Ajoke may have gone through a lot in that place. I really pity her growing up, because it's not easy not to have the cover and the shield of a family. And people should know that it's not only the person that deposited the seed that is the father. Whoever provided care and shelter is the father. And just like nobody throws his own son away, no matter how bad they get, no child should be thrown away. I feel that Ajoke should have been forgiven and still nurtured. But because she came from a religious environment, some of the life she was living wasn't coming out okay for them. And then they said it was because of his reputation. He cares so much about his name. That's why he don't want to be associated with the theft from the school and other issues surrounding her. People don't understand that when you are raising teenagers, you are going to have difficulties. You will prayerfully pull through. Throwing them away will not be the best solution. So I am not dwelling on whether it's biological daughter or not. I am dwelling on how the child was handled, whether adopted or not. If you take up, at that point when you took up that child and said, "This is my child," you have taken responsibility as a parent. How would a parent handle his child? They say you don't throw the baby and the bathwater away. No matter how bad it gets, a parent will bear the pain of parenting. We all have our stories and sorrows around our teenage children. But you keep holding on and prayerfully raising them and asking God that this child must not waste. You cannot say, because my reputation is in question. Okay, that point when you were able to prove to the school that he's not a real Joshua, it's not my blood. I feel that you have made your point. Going further to throw the child away, but I can still speak totally on this. I'm just giving a bit of my opinion. Because we all have different threshold of forbearance. And you cannot ask somebody that is angry why he's angry. For Ajoke, I feel that place is her home. I feel too that they should have brought her in the same way they brought other children. I feel too that the issue of Ajoke should be looked into. Because I started also thinking, what level of bitterness would a child have towards his parents to the point of making some of the allegations made in that piece. And one thing in life is, if you are starting something, ask yourself, how far can I go? This matter is still going to get dirtier. But my prayer is that God takes control. I have no right to judge them on anything pertaining to lineage and blood. But I can only hear my opinion. But one could establish that there was a point where bitterness had come in that can cause most of the things we saw. On the way Ajoke was handled in their discipleship hostel, none of them wants to take responsibility for what they did to that girl. If you ask me, I can envisage what it could have been. In the African setting, seniors are allowed to discipline younger ones. I don't know how the instruction was given to handle Ajoke, because I don't see a father telling people to beat up his own child. But they told us it's because it's his nightmare. If it's your nightmare, you won't leave him in the church to even raise cause for alarm. Somebody like TB.Joshua had resources to keep Ajoke somewhere else and give her a better life, and hide her if she was to be a secret. So I don't believe that. I believe that they were all accomplices that dealt with that girl and felt that she was always at their mercy. If somebody tells me to beat up a child, I have my senses to decide whether or not to beat the child. For the so-called person that took her to put hot water on her head, all of them who don't want to accept the life they have lived and are looking for ways to make it TB.Joshua's problem, God will show us all mercy. I pray that God will find Ajoke wherever she is and give her a life, because I can understand the pain of not having an identity. There's this usual belief that when people are overly stubborn or have some characters, there's an evil spirit in them. Sometimes it's true, but everything is not about spirits. Some things will require a different approach. Some things will even require environmental change. There are many Ajokes in different places. Even the people that be pointing accusing fingers here have many Ajokes in their houses, around them. Who wants to be right? Who wants to sound right? Let's all ensure that we are not enabling the things we are condemning. If we talk about hatred, is there hatred in our hearts? If we are talking about TB.Joshua's documentary, is it with a plan to sound right? Or with a plan to chart a new course? Is it with a plan to demonize? Or with a plan to correct? Ajoke's statement summarizes it. They were all beyond fanatics. Because it's only fanaticism that will make you see that things are wrong, and you will stay there, only to come much later when you don't have how to substantiate your claim to sound like the victim. I don't want to believe that all these women are lying of constant sexual assault. The issue I have is that these are people's testimonies that we cannot see. But my happiness is that God sees everything. He gives to every man as their work shall be. Man of God. We should not idolize them. These people are flesh. And when they get powers, they get it from different places. But for us to say, but I cannot talk like I followed you to go and get that your power. I leave everything in the hands of God. When I listen to this lady, I still feel somehow. I feel something is off somewhere. I can't place my hands on it. But she should not act innocent. Somebody told you to be supplying virgins for that number of years. You kept doing it, and you say you thought you were pleasing God. You have pleased God. Then leave it. where he's coming from. And most of the places he came from, pictures were regular things during prayers. But I can't still ascertain the truth in these things. Because the pictures used in the documentary were the demonstrations of BBC. You supervised the callousness for 14 years. This well. The man must be a hero to have been able to sleep with girls almost every day of his existence in that ministry. I don't even know what to say. Episode 3 drops more on the collapsed building. I have spoken about the collapsed buildings, how that the buildings were not approved to the level it was built, and how that the church should still pay compensations if they have not. And then on the issue of miracles, there were visible miracles, there were ones that didn't succeed. All this is God's business to prove who is real and who is not real. One thing is sure, that we that are alive have a duty, and we are much privileged because we can see the lives others who have gone lived to make our own choices in life. I'm not going to attack any religious leader or anything. Seek God for yourself. Don't idolize anything. People will not be caught up if they are not running around for things. But I also pray. But why I also don't blame them is that we should never be in situations that will put us in that space where we have to scout for solution, even in the holes of the demons. When the doctors have told you there is no solution, there is this thing in man that will also want to live, and that is when we'll start putting our heads everywhere. You have power to pray yourself out of any situation. Learn to pray. Learn to hold God there. You are an altar. You are a prayer house. You are a prayer mountain. Stop running around for miracles. In this time and age, I am no longer interested in knowing who is real and who is not real. And I pray for God to help me to make the difference and to guide my heart. To guide my heart, not to be so tempted. Because it's when you are tempted that you find yourself weighing the options. I condemn every act that has been said to have been perpetrated by this man. But I will not also fail to understand that he has deniability. In everything, let God have his way.